The goal of this project has been to examine and address the harms of incarceration on reentry and recidivism. We believe increasing, standardizing, and requiring virtual correctional education will be an effective way of enhancing chances of successful reintegration, addressing these harms from within the system before inmates are released. From here, we recommend legislative shifts in hiring policies, specifically banning the box to address hiring discrimination these individuals face in acquiring stable employment opportunities post-release. 95% of prisoners will be released at some point in their lifetime, approximately 600,000 a year. Of these individuals, only around half will have a high school education or GED, and around 25% will have no educational credentials. Although all federal prisons offer opportunities for incarcerated individuals to obtain certificates such as the GED and ESL, other programs, such as those that teach specialized vocational skills and job training, availability of these programs and requirements to participate may vary by prison. We recommend offering standardized correctional education, vocational training, job training, and other educational programs at every state prison and offering it virtually and free of cost. Accounting for prior education and skill levels, these programs should be required for all inmates who will be released from prison within their lifetime and highly recommended yet optional for individuals facing life sentences.
Correctional education has already been implemented and to an extent deemed an effective measure in reducing recidivism and promoting greater success upon reentry. In a meta-analysis of 50 studies of the relationship between correctional education participation and recidivism, including 32 years of research, researchers estimated 71 odds ratios, which are the odds of treatment group participants reoffending divided by that of the comparison group. Results of this analysis suggest correctional education is found to decrease recidivism rates by an average of 12.9% when applying odds ratios to the most up-to-date national rate of reincarceration at the time, which was 43.3% within 3 years. However, it's important to consider that results of the study were highly variable and that methodology and sample groups were variable over individual studies. For example, some programs used one-on-one instruction with post-release component, whereas others used class instruction with no post-release programming. Some programs may have been standalone, whereas others a part of a larger program, and some individuals involved in the study may have come in with higher education levels than others. Additionally, and importantly, exhibited effects of recidivism may be a product of the individual's self-election to participate in the correctional education programs rather than casual impacts of the educational program itself, because these individuals may have had more motivation, locus of control, and determination to avoid reoffending. To account for this, the study at hand rated and compared the quality of methodology of each study on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best organized, randomly controlled study with low attrition, and 1 being a study with no comparison group not getting a treatment. An example of a level 4 study from this meta-analysis, where the treatment and control group are reasonably similar, compared recidivism rates of 1,077 Indiana offenders funded to take part in correctional education programs who were released from 2002 to 2009, and 1,078 randomly selected Indiana offenders released in 2005 who had not received educational funding. Research found that recidivism was approximately 3.7 times lower for offenders who participated in correctional education at a rate of 29.7% than offenders who did not participate in these programs, who reoffended at a rate of 67.8%. Although imperfect, these results suggest that recidivism is still decreased for individuals participating in correctional education when accounting for selection bias, more specifically voluntary participation in sampling. Correctional education also functions to increase the skill set of incarcerated individuals. Upon release, these skills may be seen as promising indicators to hiring managers, landlords, etc., allowing these individuals greater opportunity to exhibit upward mobility. Because of this, they may also feel inclined to continue their education post-release because they understand the importance of these skills in successful reentry. Although current modes of correctional education may exhibit these benefits towards incarcerated individuals re-entering society already, we are proposing standardized virtual modes of education because it will allow all incarcerated individuals access to any and all programs that they could be benefited from, without an instructor for that specific subject needed. It will also mean that all inmates receive fair opportunity when it comes to correctional education, no matter their location, prior education, or monetary status, ensuring that no individual will have to endure a waitlist to learn. Moreover, requiring education for all individuals will translate into education being viewed as the norm, ideally encouraging support, follow-through, and increased self-esteem towards one's outlook on their reentry.
Despite the positive outcomes associated with enhanced and standardized prison education, implementing this change may raise concerns from taxpayers. These individuals may oppose the burdens of an increased tax to fund the supplemental resources needed in this proposal, especially considering they are already funding prison operations through their taxes and they are law-abiding, so why should they be responsible for educating those who have, in many cases, made a choice causing them to be incarcerated? Additionally, one may object to why we should be obligated or even inclined to fund free education for convicted criminals when there are law-abiding individuals who equally lack free access and even just access to education, especially when our resources are not unlimited. In this case, these individuals may argue that first, they are more deserving because they are law-abiding, and that if they are not able to acquire these educational resources as well, they may face a disadvantage when it comes to areas such as employment and social mobility as compared to incarcerated individuals reentering society. While it's important we consider the potential burdens imposed on law-abiding individuals as a result of this proposal, the return on investment of implementing stronger and more stable correctional education addresses these concerns. While funding increased correctional education would come from the taxpayer dollar, and it would likely face an upfront spike in cost with our proposed program, it has been found under the current system that for every dollar spent towards correctional education, taxpayers save an estimated $4 to $5 towards funding incarceration, meaning that if correctional education was prioritized, leading to a decrease in recidivism and convictions overall, taxpayers would theoretically pay less than continuing to fund prison operations as they are now because of how expensive it is to fund the current prison system. Additionally, these programs will have lasting effects on families, promoting social mobility and educational outcomes for generations, as children whose parents have degrees have been found more likely to themselves acquire a degree. Not only will this allow greater opportunity for the incarcerated, as we have mentioned, but it will also reinforce the importance of early education, which will be important in decreasing overall rates of incarceration down the line. Education is not enough to relieve the struggle of others lacking education who may feel they are more deserving of those resources than convicted criminals. However, it can be argued under contractualist moral theory that even though incarcerated individuals have committed a crime, and this may seem like a justification to remove their right to some beneficial service, they maintain their basic right and dignity as humans, and because of this, an educational program that significantly benefits their potential outcomes and the outcomes of others, such as taxpayers and family members, cannot be reasonably rejected. In saying this, we still aim to address the concern of others lacking educational resources. To do so, we suggest implementing additional policies to standardize primary and foundational education for those it is currently unavailable to, either virtually, as suggested here, or through increased in-person resources. Since correctional education does have a return on investment of approximately $4 to $5 saved for every $1 spent, we recommend using what is gained here to fund the resources for free education to law-abiding individuals in need. This will come at no additional cost to the taxpayer. Requirements will remain equal to or decrease from what these individuals owed in taxes to fund incarceration in the first place. Prison systems are currently organized on the foundation of punishment. Not only will standardizing and increasing correctional education to all states through virtual measures, making it required and implementing it free of charge, increase the opportunity for successful reentry as it relates to employment, housing, and social mobility, but it will also have long-term benefits on the productivity of society, with potential benefits to taxpayers and other individuals lacking resources to education as a result. In doing so, this proposal may also have the power to shift the stigma behind the carceral system to one that's seen as rehabilitative rather than punitive, further moving us towards shifting the cycle of incarceration and the harms it poses on all those a part of it.
Expanding education within prisons is an important step toward reducing recidivism, but it's not enough. Iron discrimination significantly reduces the chances of formerly incarcerated individuals finding employment, even with education, limiting their ability to reintegrate into society. To address this, we believe that ban-the-box policies should be widely implemented across both public and private sectors. These policies simply delay background checks until later in the hiring process. This ensures that qualified candidates are not immediately dismissed due to biases and that employers assess applicants based on skills and experience before considering their criminal history. Ban-the-box policies have already been implemented in 37 states and more than 150 cities across the U.S. for public sector employees, and research shows they have a positive impact. One of the strongest examples comes from Hawaii, which implemented ban-the-box in 1998. A study published in the American Journal of Criminal Justice found that after the policy was enacted, repeat felony convictions in Honolulu County decreased by 57%. Another study conducted in 2017 by Terry Ann Craigie and published in Criminology and Public Policy found that ban-the-box policies increase the likelihood of formerly incarcerated individuals securing public sector employment by approximately 30%. Clearly, these findings suggest that delaying criminal background checks leads to more opportunities for qualified candidates, successfully helping individuals reintegrate into society and lowering recidivism rates. Despite its benefits, ban-the-box has faced criticism due to unintended consequences, particularly concerns that when employers are unable to ask about criminal records, they may resort to racial profiling. A 2018 study by Texas A&M University and the University of Oregon found that after ban-the-box policies were implemented, employment decreased by 5.1% for Black men aged 25 to 34 without a college degree and 2.9% for Hispanic men in the same demographic. This suggests that some employers, instead of assessing applicants based on qualifications, began making assumptions about criminal history based on race, age, or socioeconomic background. Further research by Amanda Egan and Sonia Starr at the University of Michigan Law School supports this concern. In a study conducted in New Jersey and New York City, they submitted 15,000 fictitious job applications, one with a white-sounding name and one with a black-sounding name, to employers before and after ban-the-box policies were enforced. Prior to the policy, white applicants received approximately 7% more callbacks than their black counterparts with identical qualifications. After ban-the-box went into effect, this gap widened significantly to 45%. While the policy increased job opportunities for formerly incarcerated individuals, it also resulted in a decline in callbacks for Black men without criminal records, highlighting the risk of racial bias as an unintended consequence. While it is important to acknowledge these unintended consequences of ban-the-box, abandoning the policy would not solve the deeper issue of hiring discrimination. Employers would simply return to outright rejecting applicants with criminal records, perpetuating systemic barriers to employment for millions of people. Instead of reversing progress, we must refine ban-the-box to address its shortcomings. The goal should not be to choose between justice for formerly incarcerated individuals and justice for Black men without records. It should be to expand protections for both. The increased hiring discrimination faced by Black men without records is not an inherent flaw of ban-the-box itself, but rather a reflection of pre-existing racial bias in hiring practices. Additionally, while banning the box may initially lead to unintended negative consequences, these effects are likely to diminish over time as the stigma surrounding formerly incarcerated individuals decreases. As society becomes more accustomed to seeing individuals with records successfully reintegrate into the workforce, employers will no longer rely on racial proxies to assume criminal history. This does not mean that racial discrimination in hiring will be eliminated, but it does mean that the specific bias stemming from perceptions of formerly incarcerated individuals will no longer amplify existing disparities. To ensure that ban-the-box policies achieve their intended goal without leading to increased racial discrimination, additional policies must be implemented alongside them. One potential solution is anonymized initial applications, which remove personal identifiers such as names and addresses to prevent race-based assumptions from influencing hiring decisions. Another potential solution would be for employers to be required to undergo mandatory bias training to ensure that hiring managers evaluate candidates based on their qualifications rather than their assumptions. Stronger anti-discrimination laws and enforcement mechanisms must be paired with ban-the-box to prevent employers from using alternative means, such as stricter job requirements, to filter out applicants from marginalized backgrounds. Some employers argue that ban-the-box policies waste time and resources by delaying background checks. However, it simply ensures checks occur after candidates are assessed on their qualifications. Most hiring processes already involve multiple steps, making this delay minimal. While certain jobs justifiably restrict applicants with records, those who reach the background check stage have already proven their qualifications and should not be dismissed due to stigma. Ban-the-box policies are morally permissible, politically feasible, and practically effective. They promote fairness and equal opportunity by ensuring that individuals are judged based on their qualifications rather than past mistakes. Politically, Ban the Box builds upon existing state policies rather than creating an entirely new system, making it more appealing to policymakers. Practically, Ban the Box normalizes fair hiring practices, reduces recidivism, and supports economic reintegration for formerly incarcerated individuals. Over time, as hiring biases are addressed and stigma declines, the unintended negative effects on Black and Hispanic job seekers may also diminish. As Brian Kelly, the CEO of the Prison Entrepreneurship Program, put it, because of all the obstacles and all the prejudice, because of society's stance, every sentence is a life sentence. Expanding Ban the Box is a step toward breaking this cycle and providing millions of Americans with a genuine second chance. As a society, we have a moral duty to remove these systemic barriers and create pathways for formerly incarcerated individuals to reintegrate. In particular, those with the power to enact change, whether as policymakers, employers, or advocates, must take responsibility in advancing solutions. Expanding access to prison education and strengthening ban the box policies, when paired with strong anti discrimination measures, will create a fairer hiring process that upholds both justice and economic opportunity. By committing to these changes, we move closer to a system that values rehabilitation over permanent exclusion, giving individuals a real chance at a second beginning.